Just give us a second. Look at that, right on the dot. Okay, let me close this out. Just give us a second. All right, we're good to go.
Okay.
1:30 on the dot, or 4:30 your time.
Yep, right on the nose.
Yeah, well, I just want to jump right in. It's good to see you as always. I'm always super excited and a little jittery when we do these because there's always so much information and I'm just like, what are we going to talk about?
Right.
I want to stay as current as we possibly can. There was a lot that happened in March, leading up to where we are now, but you sent me, I'm getting chills right now as I'm about to say. You sent me a couple links, which one of them I wasn't able to look at. I just didn't have time to look at them, but want to jump in with that because it's interesting that, and not a coincidence or a surprise that you sent me those links, because a few days ago I received information from my guides that time was going to be speeding up, that the ascension energies was going to be, and events was going to be speeding up. And let me just pause right there for a moment. You guys are our listeners are in our internet right now has a little lag. The internet is a little spotty, so I apologize if there's like a lag in audio. But going back to that, yeah, they told me that coming in April, energies would be speeding up and events aligned with those energies. So let's just jump right in and tell me more about these couple of links. Let's go ahead and mention them, and let me hear what you have to say about that.
Well, there is a YouTube channel that if you are interested in the correlation between what happens astrally and what happens terrestrially, Suspicious Observers is a really good one. And he talks a lot about the magnetic energy that comes from the sun and the plasmatic energy that comes from the sun and how that affects our upper atmosphere and thus the lower atmosphere when you have days where you feel lethargic or heavy on your spirit or just in general, just your mood or your vibe. You can't really put a finger on it. That gives you good clarity, or at least a pinpoint to go ahead and begin your research of what's happening in your world. But where I see it from the level that you and I speak about often, Natasha, is manifestation, collective consciousness, right? So everybody's at a stage now, especially with the events that happen, everybody's ready for some sort of ending or justification, or at least changing the timelines along and speeding things up. You're noticing that the days are shorter, that it seems like you're doing something 1 minute, it doesn't seem like it takes that long, and you look down and you're like, whoa, where'd all this time go? Well, there's a lot happening that's connecting the dots between the two.
Totally.
What I'm noticing is that people who are putting their true intentions on something, clean intentions, for those of you who are these days, for how they want to try to bring something into their situation, whether that be snacks or an outing or whatever, they have a very keen way of bringing that timeline along with them. It's just something that if you're not paying attention to it, if you start watching it, you'll see it as a marker of where we are right now. But yeah, things have been pretty interesting lately.
Absolutely. I wanted to jump in about the what I've noticed is that because of this acceleration, we are learning how those who are awakened, we're learning, it's actually kind of influencing us. It's forcing us to learn how to be more in the present. I can speak personally for myself, like just I have to be really present. Otherwise I get burnt out with all the doing. So it's actually it's helping us hone that skill of being very present, and in alignment with what you were saying about how people can like bring on that timeline with them. You have to be very present. So this acceleration is helping us hone that skill and not get caught up in the doing, which goes back,
Right.
you know, like we're learning how to be more being and not more doing.
The human being aspect.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Let me stay on track here. What has come up with me is that because of this acceleration, and this is actually something that has come up that my guides shared with me a few days ago, that there is definitely going to be another huge wave of people awakening. There was a big wave in February, and that there is going to be another huge wave around the full moon, the latter part of April and into the beginning of May. And this wave feels different. I can't quite put my finger on it, but it feels very, well, first of all, it's more in alignment with the golden light frequency that's coming in, which is associated with Christ consciousness and consciousness of the heart. So these frequencies and this huge wave of energy that's coming in, that's going to influence this big wave of awakened, a huge wave of newly awakened people. It's like they're getting a little more grace around it. It has sort of like this frequency has this golden hue to it, and it's like it's very clarifying, but it's also very gentle. It's sort of like they'll have this illumination, but it's not going to be quite so striking as it has in the past, like last year, when there was a whole bunch of people awakening to the shadow. They were seeing the shadow,
right?
Which is really interesting because in my read also of the energies for April is that there is going to be a blatant gnashing of teeth. The Bible refers to as gnashing of teeth. Just a lot of angst and aggression that we're going to be seeing in the mainstream media in terms of shadow. So it's really interesting that that is going to be up, but yet this new wave that's associated with this golden frequency is going to be more gentle. It's going to be clarifying, but it's going to be like people who have the awakening are just going to be kind of like, well, of course, I see that. It's going to be kind of like, oh, and a lot of are going to be awakened through mainstream media because it's going to be sort of like this disbelief, like, what? Like this is ridiculous. What? Like that's going to be sort of the catalyst for the awakening, where people are just going to be questioning and doubtful of what's being reported. And then that's going to set a ball into motion for them. So yeah, I wanted to get your take on that and your sense on those energies.
Well, the first thing that I'll say is, and this is only going to be funny to people like you and I who have already quit Instagram, but back in the day, you'd have had a bunch of hearts running up the side of the screen just now. Yeah, going back to your original statement where you were talking about anchoring in, right? That the timelines are speeding up so quick that your natural response as a human being, let's say you're floating in a river, right? And all of a sudden that river picks up speed. Your natural inclination is to start to try to grab things to hold you still. So that on a spiritual level is what we should be focusing on doing right now. And that helps you stay mindful and present in the current moment, right? So again, I go back to the analogy of being a boulder in a river. You're feeling all that energy right now. because doing that will allow you to focus on all the little things that you're doing. Mindfulness is the buzzword in my house, right? My daughter will take forever to brush her teeth. And I'm like, what's taking you so long? And she's like, I'm being mindful. You can't mess with her after that, you know? But yeah, so to go along with what you're saying, you're seeing the lead in to what you were talking about people being awakened via the mass media. Their financiers are selling off stock in these companies like hotcakes right now. And that is an indicator that something big is going to tank mainstream media. Mm-hmm. And you really got to let that sink in, because we're so used to, you know, I hearken from the 80s where every night on Channel 7 News, it was film at 11, something bad happened. And you grow up investing in watching bad things happen. So you become numb to it. I mean, look at the tickers every day talking about everybody that's dying from this or going to war to do that. The bottom line is, what is going to be so big that it takes down mainstream media? And remaining open to that is the key to allowing these things to start to manifest, because there's a lot of resistance. And again, that's the clawing and trying to hang on to and slow things down. But the resistance is, I don't know where this is going to lead. What's going to happen next? That's a common question.
Yeah.
Watch the movie. That's what I say. You know, don't resist the storyline. Don't resist the plot. Pay attention to what's happening, and invest in being mindful, because right now we're in sort of a multi-dimensional keyhole, if you will, where we're able to actively influence the course of events, right? That are starting to become less and less frequent. Of conversation about the Second Amendment a few weeks ago. And in those conversations online, a lot of people were speculating that we were going to see events that were designed to create a narrative around removing the Second Amendment. And what did we end up seeing? So you have to ask yourself, how much of these events are planned versus how much are we actually influencing them by our conscious projection, right? It's true. So you really need to think about you really need to think about where your mind goes right now, and being mindful of not judging people, of not having a negative opinion of the things that you're experiencing. Don't label your experiences right now. Don't say I had a good day or a bad day. Just, it was an experience, and you take it for what it is and you keep it moving.
Right. I'm so glad you brought that up, Alan, because I wanted to encourage our listeners, especially those who are newly awakening through this month and who have awakened previous in the past couple of months. Study the 7 laws of the universe. Please do yourself a favor and study those. You are going to empower yourself so much if you study those. And what I got is that a lot is going to come into play with the law of polarity, which is associated with the heart chakra. And I've been feeling it since last fall, these activations around the heart. And the law of polarity is exactly what Alan just referenced to. It's like, try not to judge things as see it as it's all part of one. It's all part of the universe, each experience. And I've been watching, I'm not sure how to say his name. I think it's Matthias De Stefano. He has a series on Gaia, and he talks about the law of polarity. And I love the way he describes it. He says, you know, like, imagine if you're going to take a jump, okay? So when you're going to jump, you're going to bend your knees and you're going to crouch down in order to gain momentum to like jump up, right? And so see that's like one motion. And so one could say, you know, when you go down, that's a bad experience, but it's not. It's actually a launching off place because that's how the universe works. And so I really liked how you described that, you know, in very simple terms of like, see it as part of you're gaining momentum in order to make that make that jump, which can be seen as a positive. But it's all negative and positive. That's the law of the polarity, and it's all one. So I encourage our listeners, please study those laws. The law of polarity is going to come into play. It's sort of coming in while I'm looking at the energy. It's very subtle right now, but it's going to be building until we get to that point to where if you're spiritually awake, you're going to really need to be practicing that law, because you'll drive yourself crazy and life will
Yes,
not
you
be
will.
fun if you're not practicing that law and being in the heart chakra and being in the heart intelligence. So is there anything you wanted to add to that, Alan?
Yeah, absolutely. This is, as you put it, kind of the connecting of two highways, if you will, of people who have already been on their journey and new people coming on the on-ramp, right?
Mm-hmm.
For those people who are just now waking up or just now recognizing that you're starting to notice different traits and abilities, and you want to know more, and you're surfing YouTube and you're reading posts and you're talking to random people in chat rooms, it's good to explore, right? And at a certain point, you're going to come across people who are a little bit more advanced in their journey and are talking about advanced steps like astral projection and channeling and things of this nature. While that right now seems to be a buzzword, there is a lot of spiritual warfare going on right now. And I think that this is a good segue to talk about protection, cleansing, cloaking. Not necessarily in that order, but something that you need to develop some sort of a ritual in which you are protecting yourself. No, before you went to bed, whatever religion you're from, really, it was part of your routine. You brush your teeth, you wash your face, you go to the bathroom, you get dressed, you take a knee, and you say what you got to say, and you clock out. So I'm going to share with you something that was given to me during a QHHT. It's probably not going to be as effective for you because it was specific to me, but definitely try to find something to do to handle this next step. Envisioning what Natasha was saying, visualizing what it is that you're seeing is a very important aspect of manifestation, of channeling your energies, of remaining centered and focused. So the more that you can picture this, and more importantly, feel it, the more potency it's going to have. So what I was told was to envision yourself standing in a waterfall of golden white light, which Natasha mentioned that the golden light spectrum is very strong right now. Imagine that it's cleaning and cleansing your spirit, your body, your astral body, washing away any negative intentions or negative parasitic cords. Just go through the litany of the things that you don't want on you before you're done, same as a shower. And then submerge yourself into a pool of liquid gold. This liquid gold is anointing you and protecting you. And it's actually forming a shell around your body so that it's heightening your vibrations, similar to a bell, right? And when you come out of that, you're stepping into diamond white platinum light. And imagine it coating your body like a diamond, just as hard, just as vibrant, elevating and enhancing your auric field. Your brightest color that you can project, it's going to sparkle super bright. Then you put on your bronze crown that aligns all of your chakras and leaves your crown chakra open, because that's the exit point. That's how you project. And then from there, you want to put on your black obsidian cube. That's the cloaking. So that the astral is, it's like walking through a neighborhood at night. It could be a good neighborhood, it could be a bad neighborhood, but the less attention you draw, the better off you are. And with that, and so it is. Once you do that, that's the glue, and you're good. But you should do it twice a day. Do it in the morning and do it in the evening. Same as when you take care of your regular routine. But that's what I have to offer for that.
Totally. I'm so glad that you shared that, because there's a couple of things I wanted to address. That yes, you guys, daily routine is so important. Like, make it your daily routine. Like Alan said, there's things that I do daily. There's things that I do not allow in my house, plain and simple, whether it's music or movies or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I have a number of different crystals that I use as tools to keep my space clean. I do, personal care. I smudge every day. It's, it's just part of the routine. So it's very important. It's very important for you to do that. The other thing that I wanted to mention is that back when there was a lot of censorship going on among the conspiracy, the conspiracy theorists, with Twitter and Facebook and those social platforms. When was that, Alan? Do you remember? I was trying to remember. Was it in the fall, like September, October?
To me, it was a Tuesday in 1973. It seems like it was so long ago.
Oh my gosh, I know. I was trying to remember. I was like, when was that? It seemed like forever ago, but I think it was last fall. My guides were like, just wait, it's going to happen to the spiritual community. The spiritual teachers are going to start getting censored. And this past month in March, there was a number of spiritual teachers that were attacked. Magenta Pixie, Lori Ladd, Teal Swan. She's been poor honey. She's like been attacked so many times.
Yeah.
But, so it's important. My point is not to be afraid, but to know this is coming down the pike, that it's necessary for you to do these things like what Alan has shared, because, it's part of the climate that we live in right now. And just be aware. I personally, went through a moment where I had to do some cleansing, some really deep cleansing, energetical cleansing. So it seems that no one is immune. And so just make it happen for yourself. Yeah.
I think that part of the thing is that people feel awkward doing these things, right? They're like, I don't want to feel weird. It feels weird to do smudging or whatever. Look at it like this. You walk into any Catholic church in the world, and there's a guy wearing a strange outfit, swinging a ball and chain with smoke coming out of it and flicking water on random people's foreheads. It in some communities that works, right? So does burning sage, so does having crystals, so does going inside and focusing on higher self. It's not weird. It's just a different perspective. And that is the key right now, is perspective. Everybody wants to see things the way everybody else sees them. Stop that. See things the way that they are, right? And then you recognize that you influence your perspective. So if you change your perspective, you change your reality. People think all metaphysics of, oh, he said change his timeline and his reality. Your reality is the things that you hold value in, right? So the days of MTV, for example, we used to sit on the TV, on the couch and eat Cheetos and drink Pepsi and watch MTV for hours at a time. And then after a while, it became something that you just stopped doing. You didn't think about it. You didn't miss it, right? It's a different perspective. You just took your attention and put it on something else. So start putting your attention on focusing on what's happening in here instead of outside, and you'll be able to center a lot easier.
Yeah, well, and not only that will you be able to center easier, but you'll be able to maneuver through all of these different energies, the chaotic energies. They won't even come up on your radar. If you're like establishing that self, that for yourself, and you've done your routine. First of all, once you've established the routine, you'll miss it. It's now become habit for you. And those days that you don't do it, you're like, oh, that's why I'm feeling weird. I forgot to do this, or I didn't do that. But yeah, it's necessary, and you actually make it easier for yourself, because you can maneuver through this energy climate that we have right now with all of these shifts and this ascension, and things won't even register. It won't even come up on your radar. Like any sort of drama won't even come up on your radar. There's been, for example, I want to give an example. There's there was someone in my life that I feel close to, and I was in the other room, and all of this stuff went down, and it was very like unnerving for, it wasn't anything serious, it just like was more of an inconvenience than anything for them, but it was upsetting, they had already had a bad day.
Right.
And and it didn't even, I was totally oblivious to it until I like came out of the room, and it was already blown over. Everything was chill, and they were like, yeah, this, and I was like, I was just in the other room and had no idea what was going on. And so
Yep.
that is a testament of like, you're doing these things to align your energy, and especially with these 7 laws, and putting that protective shield around you, it won't even register, which is really cool in my opinion, because I like a drama-free life.
I hear that. I want to piggyback on that because the energy right now is affecting people. And if you're a people watcher like myself, then you notice the triggers that everybody is going through. And it adds to it if you've, as Natasha said, had a bad day. And you have to think about yourself as is what you are, a producer of energy, right? And everybody around you has an energetic field. It's like when you were a child and they said respect a person's personal bubble. You have a responsibility right now to manage your own energetic field and that of those around you. It's kind of like living in an apartment complex, right? You got a lot of different personalities around you, and you have to figure out a way to just coexist until you come and go from your space where everybody is. So keep that in mind when you're having interactions with people, that
Totally.
sometimes when a person reacts versus responds, they react to something. It's aimed at you in your mind. You're thinking this person's attacking me.
Right.
And then you
right.
put off the energy of being defensive, which is a lower vibration, negative energy. And now
Right.
you have a clashing of personalities, right? It is your duty at that stage to recognize the fact that regardless of whether or not you were at fault, because again, this is not about establishing parameters to your experience, whether it's a good experience or a bad experience, a conversation or an argument. It's your duty to recognize that regardless of who's at fault, your energetic field is now affecting everybody, and you have a choice to make. You can stay in that space and correct that energy with your words, or you can correct that energy by removing yourself from the circuit, right? There's nothing wrong with either one of those as long as your intentions are pure. If your intentions are, I don't wish to cause any energetic disturbance to anyone around me, so I'm either going to leave or I'm going to address the problem in a fashion that's effective and responsible. If we all do that collectively, then the world going forward is going to be a much better place, which is where we all want it to be right now, right? So you got to do your part. It's like if you see a guy when you're driving the car and he throws his Happy Meal out the window, at the next red light, you should make a point to say something to him. Don't be harsh about it. Be like, hey man, go pick that up. But just think about the fact that we all live together for a second, please. Something simple like that. And I think that those approaches, mindfulness of how you are conducting yourself in those situations, is going to straighten a lot of the problems out.
Right. Or you know what? Just go pick it up and throw it away.
Do your part. You can mumble about it.
I mean, if you're in that place where you're like grumbling about it, and don't do it. But if it doesn't charge you, if it's not emotionally charging and it doesn't trigger you, like just go and pick it up and throw it away, and because what that does is through that energy of love for our planet, it oversees, or it goes over that energy of that person who tossed it out the window. It's like you neutralize that. You neutralize that disregard, and you bring in an energy of love. So like make it your intention, if you're able to, because I get triggered too, it's like we all get triggered, but if you're able, to in that moment, like really feel love for the planet and like do something as act of kindness for the planet, do it. Because that energy ripples out, and I guarantee you someone's going to see that.
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee you. Someone is going
It's
to
probably
watch
going to be a
the whole
child.
scenario.
It's probably going to be a child.
Watch that go down, where they see some person push out, and then they see you, they witness you go out, pick it up and throw it away. They're going to be like, I want to be like that.
My daughter's like that. She'll go through the park and pick stuff up.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what, like Alan said, that's what we're aiming for. So yeah.
Another aspect to hanging on to your energy, it just popped into my mind again, is we have, again, we're in this multi-dimensional keyhole where we can affect our environment, what we see. And another way to remain mindful and be able to harness the energies, because you can't do anything but just exist in the energies that are present, right? But you can change and I don't want to say control, but manipulate that flow of energy, harness it, right?
Right.
So creativity is a really big one, because that's a regenerative energy flow, right? You're taking energy that's coming in and you're recreating something with it, and then that sponsors somebody else to create something, and so on and so forth. So today, just taking advantage of the fact that there's no clouds in the sky and that the light energy felt good today, I got outside and I took my camera with me and all my video equipment, and I just walked through botanical gardens, just being creative. But it focused me enough to be present in the moment and appreciate the day, not let it just get away from you.
Yeah. Isn't that also one of the laws? Isn't that the law that's associated with the root chakra? Do you remember what that law is? I can't remember it.
It's been a while since I've been on that page. I've been reading a lot of the Galactic Codex, which is kind of similar, but a little bit different. But I can't remember the exact formation of that one.
Yeah, they're talking about, gosh, I wish I could remember it. It's the law associated with the root chakra, but it's all about that. It's all about creation.
Yes.
And tapping into that creative force and like presenting something, creating something. Yeah, so that's another one of the laws. I wanted to go back, what you were talking about, the energy putting out there and what you might say to someone. That too is a law. I'm like a broken record today with all these laws, but I've been studying them again. It's been years, and I just feel so inspired by them. But it's the law associated with the throat chakra. I think, is it the law of correspondence?
I believe that's correct. Yeah. Correspondence. I feel like that's right.
Okay, I couldn't remember if
that was that's right.
But anyway, it's about you guys.
Link in the description below.
Say again. Say again. What'd you say?
I was saying link in the description below.
Oh, right,
link in the description below.
Yes.
for the correspondence, the laws and all that.
Absolutely. I will put it in the description below, I promise. But going back to what Alan was saying about words are powerful. What we speak, we're like, we're taking thought out of the ethereal and we're speaking it and we're delivering it into the physical. Written word is even more powerful. So it's like, be careful what you say about yourself.
Please.
and
or situations.
Exactly, because we can very nonchalantly say, oh, I'm just having a bad day.
Don't do that.
Guess what? You just made that happen. So it's like the universe is going to correspond with that. What you put out there is going to create that wave, and the universe is going to like bring it back to you. So it's like, when you're talking to someone, be careful about the words that you use and how you deliver a certain frequency, the energy, the vibration. Be careful about speaking the vibration, because it's going to come back. It's going to come back.
You can also anchor yourself in those frequencies. You know, like if you're talking about something that's very low frequency, 3D, fear-based, whatever it is, the more that you acknowledge it, first of all, acknowledging anything brings awareness to it. When you bring awareness to it, it's like a magnetic or an electronic circuit. It connects, it amplifies it. It's going to give you your results. So be very careful what you are
Absolutely.
putting your attention on, because right
Absolutely.
now it's all coming together, whether you want to believe it or not.
Right. I want to encourage, I often encourage people who are my clients who are newly awakened. You know, they're like, I just don't, I don't see that stuff, you know, like when we're talking about number sequences or seeing, you know, UFOs or astral travel or anything like that. They're just
Mhm.
like, that stuff doesn't happen to me. I'm like, nope, cancel. And I said, what you do is open yourself up to the field of possibility. Stay in the question, stay in the curiosity. And then,
Mhm.
like you were saying, Alan, when you do notice a number sequence or something that you've set your intention on receiving as a sign, acknowledge it, acknowledge the heck out of it all the time.
Mhm.
When I like, the reason why I can communicate with angels so easily is because I've been acknowledging them for like
Right.
eons. You know, they send me a sign. I'm like, thank you, no more, please. You know, the acknowledgement is what anchors it in, like what Alan was saying, and then you get into that momentum, and it's just like then it's natural. It's natural. So,
There's so
and
many things that just kind of organically,
yes,
there's just things that they just happen, right? You don't recognize that you have the ability to do things until you're in that situation where you're like, oh man, I didn't know I could do that, right? Case in point, you're sitting somewhere with a group of people and you overhear another conversation in a different language. Your curiosity starts going, I wonder what they're talking about. And if you are open minded to the fact that there's a possibility that you could catch a few things, what happens? You were like, oh man, I just understood what they said. That's so weird. I don't even speak that language. So it's similar in the sense that as long as you are focused on the fact that that is a possibility, then miraculous things start to happen.
right, right, right. I want to go a little bit further on that concept that a lot of the times newbies, which I affectionately call newly awakens, um, it's not meant derogatory at
Right.
all. I'm just like, yes, welcome
Mm-mm.
to the family.
It
Come
does.
on in.
Right. Right.
Is that when when you overhear something, you know, a lot of times they think, oh, it's like, give me some information. There's always like, and I did this too. It's like we like go into this mode where we're insane, like we're just thirsty for any sort of information and learning how to do something. And I'm like, you don't got to do that.
Mm-mm.
If you overhear someone talking or you get like a little glimpse or of something that inspires you or that intrigues you, all you have to do is feel in the moment. How does it feel into your body? Like feel like allow your imagination to kind of feel into it, allow your body to feel into it, and you can actually learn the frequency. And then once you learn the frequency, the know-how, like what Alan is saying, is it happens organically. Um, so I'll give an example. Let's say that, and you can do this for things that you're not even aware of. Like I wasn't even aware of how to bilocate. I heard the term, or I think I read the term bilocate. I didn't know what it
Mm-hmm.
meant, but I was like, I kind of had a sense, like what you were talking about, Alan, like I kind of had a sense of what it meant. And I was like, okay, well, I want to learn how to do that. And just put your intention out there in the field of possibilities. Just put your intention out there. And we do so much downloading in our sleep, during our sleep, because we're in a neutral state. So it's easy for us to like get information. And then it's sort of like the Matrix, isn't it? Where Neo like sits
Yes,
in
it
the
is.
chair
You
and they
wake
like
up with a
plug
new
him
set of
in.
skills.
And then he like gets up and he goes,
Yeah,
I know Kung Fu or
I know
whatever
Kung Fu.
wherever it was. It's sort of like that,
Yep.
and one day I was just like, I was in session and I bilocated. I didn't even I didn't study it. I didn't read about it. I just asked for it. I was just like, I want to learn how to do that. And I actually did it.
Yeah.
And I was in two different places at the same time and was like, oh, this must be what it is like. And now it's, especially with the codes coming in this month, you guys, the energies coming in right now are also accelerating our skills like never before. And it's so organic. I love that you said that, Alan,
And
because that's
fun.
how it feels. It is so organic. It's like I can astral travel like that. Just like,
Yep.
and I didn't do anything other than say, I want to do that. And it's just
It's really
like,
funny that you say that, because I remember the first skill that I unlocked was, and it's always a sequence, right? But I set your intention on step one for you. Don't worry about what happens at the end. It's step 17. Step one, you put of my vibration, right? To be able to raise or lower my vibrations at will. That was my intention. And I recognize that step one of doing that, since that's an end goal, that raising your vibrations is at 17, step one was control your pineal gland. And so I did like most people. I went and did the YouTube University, and I read a bunch of articles and bought a couple of books and really just started tinkering with the idea. And I've always gone back to the simple thought that, and again, this is the key. When you make things simple, they work, right? You can read all these books and become a master at anything, but it's the act of doing and the simplicity of that act that make you efficient, right? And so I said, the books would always tell you things like your pineal gland is calcified, and it's calcified by design from your diet and your environment and the things that you ingest mentally. But I always told myself, your brain is a computer, and a computer does whatever you tell it to do. It doesn't argue with you. If you're like, open up this file, it's like, so be it. And it does it, right? So your brain is exactly the same. And I refuse to believe that we only use 10% of our brain. And so the pineal gland, if it is in fact encased in calcium, just needs to be set free. And there's all of these medicines online that decalcify your pineal gland, or diets that decalcify it. And so it says that it can be done, right? But again, those are just kind of like placebos. You take it, and if you believe that it works, it works. So I looked at it and said, what if I was to be like an opera singer, right? And raise my vibrations enough to literally vibrate my pineal gland until the calcium breaks off, thus setting it free and opening me up to the range of possibilities that lead to step 17. Well, in shrinking that thought process from just raise your vibrations to crack your pineal gland so that you can learn how to raise your vibrations, it all of a sudden came online very organically. I didn't have to fight it. I didn't have to force it. And I recognized that I was able to control my vibrations at will. And that led me to being able to leave and astral travel. And, I believe, I'm not 100% because I haven't studied up on bilocation, but that experience that I told you about with Thoth, I was very present within the body, but
right,
mentally I was elsewhere. I was in first person view, seeing everything through this entity's eyes, like I was living it, and it was such a profound experience for me personally, because we're experiencing things left and right. You're like, oh man, this is incredible, but this was completely different. It's again something that a lot of people are going to start to try to attempt basics. Do your baby steps first, because there's a strong force beyond what we see, and you got to do your reps first before you get out in there and do your work. So
yeah, because you'll blow yourself out. Please hear me, because I've done it. And it hurts. It physically hurts.
Yeah.
So be careful, guys. Don't try to bite off more than you can chew. Don't just don't go to the grocery store when you're hungry, because you'll buy too much.
Good point.
And then you'll be full to the gills. But yeah, I kind of wanted to go into ET contact, just because I hosted a CE5. CE5 is an organization by Dr. Stephen Greer, and he in his organization, he promotes these meditations, global meditations throughout the year, where people come together and they do field meditations out in the field under a night sky. And the whole intention is universal peace, beginning with global peace, harmony, and healing. He puts in a healing aspect in his meditations, and which is very beautiful in my opinion, because we have to heal ourselves, right, before we can reach out and do the work out there. So anyway, I recommend that you look it up if it resonates with you. So what I wanted to share was my experience with astral. Well, it was more like by location, but there was a little bit of astral travel in there. But when I was in this meditation under the beautiful night sky with a group of lovely people on Saturday night, we were going through Dr. Greer's guided meditation. And at one point in his meditation, he talks about how we as a people connect in the center of the universe with all of the other galactic races. And in that moment, I was so deep in meditation that I just immediately, when he said that, it was it triggered me into an astral travel, and bam, all of a sudden I was in this place where it was sort of like the hub of all of the civilizations of the universe. And it looked kind of like a marketplace, like the center of a city where, like the town square or something, where there's just all of these different kinds of people milling about. And again, very present in my body, listening to the meditation, but also in this other location, and saw these different kinds of beings walking around. And I was just kind of like, hey, where am I? And I was just so excited. And these beings were like, what is she? They're just like, who is she? What is she doing here? Kind of like,
right.
They didn't recognize, and she looks different. And this one being, who was a masculine being, walked over to me, and he recognized me as human. And he just had this all-knowing smile. He had kind of he looks sort of like, if I was going to, he by no means was human, but if I was going to equate him to human, I would say he looked a lot like the man from Lord of the Rings, who was the king with the long, his name was Strider. Anyway, he looked like Strider from Lord of the Rings, but he just had very elongated features, and he had really sunken in cheeks. His face was really long. He had really long dark hair. It wasn't really hair, but it was like really long and dark and very, very big dark eyes. The color of his skin was sort of teal colored. But again, like really sunken features. His eyes were really sunken in, but not scary at all. Very very loving vibe. But he just walked over to me. I knew that he recognized me as a human. And he just had like this knowing smile. And it was kind of like, you're not from around here, are you? Kind of, like he's like just being like kind of like an adult would approach a child, just engaging and very kind. And I was like, yeah, you want to come to Earth? We're down there meditating. And I like showed him, I telepathically showed him where Earth was, and he just like smiled and nodded, and I was like, okay, let's go. And he's just like, no. And he
Yeah,
just
I'm
like
good.
wished me well, and just kind of, and then I was back into, I came back into the meditation. But the reason why I wanted to share that is we are going to be having more of these experiences where we're engaging more telepathically with other galactic citizens. But the important part to know about this is approach from the heart. As you engage or you make an attempt to engage with different species, to like come at it from the heart, and yeah, just like reach out and invite them. But be sure, I'm getting a hit. Like I can feel some fear for some people where they're like, yeah, but what if, I talked to the wrong one? That's when you go back and you create that protective coding around you, like Alan was talking about. You set the course, you set your intention. Because anytime I set the intention of connecting, it's like only, there's a boundary there. I am only willing to connect with benevolent species that want to make contact and that are about peaceful contact. So more and more of this is going to happen. That's why I wanted to bring it up. And
Yeah.
And it also that it's a precursor to actual physical contact. Like,
You still got to treat it the same as you would if you were going to get in your car, right? You're going to get in your car, you're going to put your seatbelt on. You're not saying anything bad's going to happen, but just in case, I have my seatbelt. You wouldn't get on a motorcycle and not put on a helmet. You wouldn't go into war without your bulletproof vest. So don't just jump into these situations and be like, I'm here, without going and doing that protective nature, because the fear is, again, you're putting your awareness on something. If you're going into a situation and you're scared that something's going to happen, it's going to happen. There's a million YouTube videos of what could go wrong, and somebody's like, hang on, record this real quick. And that's the digital equivalent of hold my beer. So something bad's going to happen. So just put your attention on, having a positive experience.
Exactly. Yes. If you have a fear that you're going to connect with malevolent entities, don't do it. Don't do it until you're really clear and your divine sovereignty is activated. Exactly. It's like that saying, if you're afraid that there's monsters in the bushes, well, don't go into the bushes. Don't go down the alley.
Don't run upstairs.
Exactly. Yeah, so set your intention and, make sure that you're not doing these things until you feel really confident that your divine sovereignty is intact. And you feel that knowing within yourself that there is nothing that can override my free will. There is no one that can force me to do something I do not want to do. It's innate in all of us. So until you feel that knowing and you feel that confidence, Yeah. Don't go out there. Don't go into the bushes. Well, my friend, we're almost time.
I'm gonna add a story, then it just popped into my head.
Okay.
Oh, you're out. We're out of time.
Well, we're getting close. We've got about
No.
5
We're good.
minutes.
We're good.
I want you to share your story. If it's
All right. Well, I'll make.
Can you summarize it?
Yeah, I'll make it quick. Yes. So when I was 4 years old, I used to have this reoccurring dream of an elderly white guy with a Civil War uniform on, red jacket, and gold lapels with the little fringes on the corners. And it was just his head, and it was just darkness, and then this almost like candlelight. And he would come to me every night. Keep in mind, I'm 4, and he would entice me or try to convince me to do bad things, right? And it wasn't until I decided to stand up and essentially claim my sovereignty, stand up for myself and claim my free will over what I was being told to do, that it stopped, right?
Mhm.
Now, the scary aspect of this story afterwards is that about 6 months later, I was sitting watching the news with my dad, and this story about something that had happened in a neighborhood in a town pretty close to where I stayed, bad situation, involving a kid and his family. And when the parent or the police asked why he did it, he drew a picture of the person that told him to do it, and it was the same person in my dream. So the point
Wow.
that I'm making is there are energies outside of this realm that we don't fully understand. And even though we're coming online now, we're starting to explore that realm. Keep that in mind, that you need to, put your seatbelt on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm glad you told that story. It's true. So I want to end our call with a quote um, along those same lines, is that, and this goes back to the law of polarity. And a lot of people talk about escaping the matrix, but the law of polarity says the matrix is part of it. It's part of the universe. So there's no escape from it. You can try all you want, but there's no escape. So kind of going along with that is the freedom, or freedom is not escaping from reality or from the matrix in this case, but it is knowing that you have the power to change it. True power is knowing, or true freedom is knowing that you have the power to change it. That is our divine will and our sovereignty. So,
and so it is.
Absolutely. And so it is. So that kind of helped me with the whole law of polarity and trying to see things objectively, because we can, the first thing we want to do, we want to escape the pain, right? We want to pull away from it, right? But when you realize that I'm a sovereign being and I get to choose in this moment how I respond to this, that is true power and freedom. So just wanted to leave our viewers with that little tidbit. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ellen. It's always so short.
It is.
The hour just seems to just fly by like that when we have these talks. But I will be sure to include the links that we've mentioned in today's call down below in the description for you guys. And anything you'd like to add in closing, Ellen? Alan?
Stay centered. Stay.
Awesome.
Still there?
Yep. Anyway, thank you so much. Much love to you all, and blessings. Take good care. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye.